I'm gonna let everybody give it a chance to get on here. It is 9:16 p.m. Eastern time. I know it's kind of late, but I wanted to get on here and talk about some major ministry transition, major announcement. Again, I know if a lot of you guys are caught up tonight or whatnot, and maybe some of you guys are going to bed, you guys can go back and watch this. Hey, Glenda, and watch this. In the broadcast, in the rebroadcast, or you can watch this. Greetings from Atlanta, Georgia. You guys can watch this on the YouTube broadcast or whatnot. So I've got a major ministry announcement. This is something that's been going on for a while, that I've known about in private. I've been praying about this. I've been moving, shifting some things around, but I feel like now is the time, now is the season to make this announcement. I'm going to give you a scripture. Again, this is not really a message tonight as it is an announcement. Hey, guys from Delaware. Thank you guys for joining me. Hey, Lori, and all you guys in North Carolina and Wisconsin and so on and so forth. Also, you guys in YouTube, thank you for joining me. Again, this is Habakkuk chapter 2. This is what it says. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so that he may run who reads it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come to pass. It will not tarry. Again, it's Habakkuk chapter, one of my favorite scriptures, Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2 through 3. So I'm going to take you guys back all the way to 2012. I'm going to talk about some stuff that's happened with me personally in ministry. And as we transition, we'll move forward and I'll tell you where we're going. Back in 2012, some of you guys already know this. Many of you guys will probably never have heard this before, and this is your first time knowing this. Back in 2012, I was pastoring a small church in Milltown, Indiana, of about 40 to 50 members, give or take. Depending on what day of the year it was and what was going on, you would see more and you would see less on other days. But nevertheless, it was a small country church in Milltown, Indiana. I took over this church and pastored there for about, I think it was about 24 months or 2 years. When I took over the church, there was the pastor who originally pastored there was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was there for like 30 to 40 years. And then another pastor took over, but some circumstances took over in which I was given the opportunity. Basically, it was a fill-in opportunity to fill in until they got a full-time pastor. But one thing led to another. 1 week after another week passed, and eventually it became a full-time slot. I had my work cut out for me. There was a remnant there that was very hungry, but there was a majority that was very steeped in tradition, very steeped into what they've always known. So me being full of the Holy Spirit, on fire for God, seeking revival, seeking awakening, I just poured out my heart, everything I got. I gave everything I had. When it was all said and done, guys, there was probably, I'd say, over 7 to 8 people. Again, this was a small country church that got baptized in the Holy Ghost. We had one guy that was 19 years of age, diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I prayed over him. We believed for God to totally heal him. Today, he is cancer-free. To God be the glory. We saw miracles. We saw healings. We saw people baptized in the Holy Ghost. God shook that small church in Milltown, Indiana. But however, there came a time when I felt like I knew that I would not be there long term, that God had something else for me, another assignment. I did not know what that meant until March of 2012. At that time, I had planned on, again, I lived in Jeffersonville, Indiana. I was pastoring in Milltown, Indiana. And that was about a 45-minute drive or an hour from where we lived to that church as well. So in March of 2012, I had planned on driving up to Cleveland, Tennessee, to go to the prophetic, the At the time, I believe it was a 2011 or 2012 prophetic summit conference with Perry Stone, and this event was at the T.L. Lowry Center at the time there off of Paul Huff Parkway. So I made the announcement on Facebook that I was heading down there. Well, at that time, again, some of you is the first time you ever heard this. Some of you have heard this, but just bear with me to get where I'm going. This is going to give God the glory, and I'm just going to show you how God works on our behalf. When I made the announcement on Facebook, a guy whom I've never met before contacts me. He says, "Hey," he says, "I'm actually over here at the T.L. Lowry Center, and I'll be here this week. I would love for you to come down here, and I'd like to talk to you. I really feel like the Lord spoke to me to connect with you. I've never met you before, but I'm familiar with your ministry." At the time, it was when End Time Headlines was really in its kind of in its infancy. So I was like, wow, this, who is this guy? I didn't really know who he was, but I was like, sure, I'll get in contact with him. I feel like God was in it. So I did. In fact, I did that. So we drove down. It was on a Thursday afternoon. I met with this individual. We went into the T.L. Lowry Center. We went into the boardroom, in which there's this long table in there, and they've got a lot of this is where they meet and they do board meetings. And on the wall, there's all these generals. You've got Oral Roberts. You've got Pastor Bob Rogers. You've got all these individuals. I can't think of right off the bat who all these individuals were on this wall, but they were great generals in the faith. So as I'm sitting here talking to this individual, again, never met this guy. It hit off. We just hit it off, and the Spirit of God was moving, and we were like kindred spirits, and God was moving in the midst of this. So this individual began to tell me about how he was at the bedside of Perry's dad, which was Fred Stone. And Fred passed in 2011. And he began to tell me how he was the last person at his bedside when he went on to be with the Lord, and he felt like that the Lord spoke to him to go and be there. And I don't want to get into the whole details of this, but there's a mantle. A mantle was passed, and this individual was there in the room when that mantle was passed. And he told me this whole story about this. And by this time, my hair is standing up. And the glory of God is just coming in this room in the T.L. Lowry Center while we're standing there talking, having this discussion. All of a sudden, this individual was like, "How would you feel about being a part of what God's doing on the front lines?" And I said, "Wow," and my eyes started filling up with tears. My wife was standing there, and we knew that God was in this. Okay, so I excused myself. I had to go. I actually went to the restroom to pray about it on my own. I said, "God, if you're in this, you've got to move." And at the time, I didn't know how my wife was going to respond to this, because she didn't want to move anywhere but Virginia. And at the time, we were in Indiana, but she had her mindset on Virginia because that's where her family's at. So she wanted to move to be with her family. So I knew that if this was God, then he was going to have to show me. So I come back in. She's in tears. I'm in tears. And then we just started talking. I said, "Man, we're going to have to pray about it." So then he tells me to stand up. And when I stand up, all of a sudden the power of God begins to hit me, because I knew what was coming. He began to say, "Look, I don't do this unless the Lord speaks to me. I guard this." And he talked about guarding the sacred fire. And he talked about how he was very cautious of guarding that which the Lord has bestowed upon him. So he said, "Raise your hands." And I raised my hands, and I began to shake under the power of God. All of a sudden, this individual, again, whom I've never met, began to prophesy over me, stuff I never knew. There's no way, or stuff that he would never have known. There's no way. I never gave him this information. I never allowed him to know any of this stuff. Again, I did not know him personally. So he prophesied over these things. He laid hands on me. The power of God nailed me. I'm telling you, it was like I stuck my hand into an electric socket. The power of God came on me. And I knew God was in this. And by the way, that individual was Jason Armstrong. Now we are very good friends. I call him my partner in crime. We tag team together. We travel together. We're in ministry together. But at that time, I'd never met him. And so I knew that was a Kairos moment in my own personal life and my ministry. And by the way, I had been dealing with an infirmity in my stomach for some of you guys will remember this. For 3 months, I went to doctors. I had a ultrasound, blood work. I had all kinds of tests, scans, all kinds of stuff. And I had this constant infirmity in my stomach. I could not get delivered of it. Well, he laid hands on me during that moment, and the power of God struck me. The next day was on a Friday morning. I got up, and I went to that meeting, and I noticed I went to the meeting, and Perry got up and he preached. And that day, that after lunch, when it came to lunchtime, I went to lunch, and I noticed there was no more pain in my stomach. And I was like, wow, praise God. So listen, guys. So I knew that was a divine connection. There was a healing done. There was prophecy given. So this was a Kairos moment in my life. So we went back. So, okay, as the dust settled, my wife and I were on our way back home from Cleveland, Tennessee. All this had settled, and I knew that there was a struggle. And I looked over at my wife, and I told her, I said, this is God. And I could tell there was a battle between the flesh and the spirit, because she knew it was God, but in her flesh she did not want to move but to Virginia. However, she submitted to God. She knew it was God. And the Lord had been dealing with me. He says, just leave her alone. He says, if my Holy Spirit can't deal with her, then what are you going to do besides antagonize her? So I shut my mouth and I just went with it. We went home. That very night we got home. It was about a 5-hour drive. We got home. And I said, look, I'm going to go out for a while. And I'm going to let you do your thing. I knew she was going to seek the Lord and have her time with the Lord. So I went out, come back home after about an hour and a half, and lo and behold, she's on the computer and she's looking up houses in Cleveland, Tennessee. I said, what are you doing? She said, well, if God's calling us to Cleveland, Tennessee, then I'm going to find a house. And I was like, and I about fell out, and I was like, wow. So guys, again, she was a nurse in Louisville, so she had a file to get her nursing license. We had to find a place to live. So there's a process, okay? Faith without works is dead. So we began to pray. We were excited. We put our house up for sale. We began to do all this stuff, right? So we put our house up for sale. We had over 14, 15, 17, I believe it was over 24 showings. Month after month, there was showings but no offerings. And then the second month would come. Showings, no offerings. No offers. I'm sorry, not offerings, but offers. There was no offerings either, brother. It was dry. So 3 months, 4 months, about 6 months into it, it was turning winter, and we both felt the release in our spirit, that, it was like it was nothing. So I got mad at God. I'm just being honest with you. I got frustrated, and I went and prayed, and I said, God, I don't understand. You showed us where we're to be, who we're to be connected with, everything. And all this, and I was getting mad, and the Lord spoke to me, guys. And look, just like Habakkuk, let me go back over here. Habakkuk chapter 2. I didn't think I was going to preach tonight, but I guess I am a little bit here because this is going to help somebody else out. Habakkuk said, listen what he said. Let me go up Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. He says, I will stand my watch and set myself on the rampart and watch to see what he will say to me, and what I will answer when I'm corrected. This was me. I thought I had everything figured out. And I was mad at God. I said, God, I don't understand. I'm doing everything you told me to do. You told me I was supposed to do this and do that, and where I was supposed to be and who I was supposed to be with. And the Lord spoke to me, guys. In other words, listen, just like Habakkuk, he said, I set myself aside, and I had to listen. And the Lord said, I showed you where you're to be, and I showed you who to be connected with. But you assumed it was now. I never said it was now. You assumed that. And I was like, what could I say? I'm like, wow, you're right. I assumed it was now. I'm like, okay. So at that time I knew, I told my wife, I said, take the house off the market. There's no sense in doing it. We got to wait on God. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you, you say, well, that's easy. No, it's not. Especially when your heart's somewhere else, but you're stuck here. But your heart's somewhere else, and you know you're supposed to be there, but you've got to wait on the timing of the Lord. So we took our house off the market. Listen, here I am pastoring a church, and I told my church that God is eventually going to transition us out to Cleveland, Tennessee. Now that was hard to do that, and they understood that. They prayed about it, and so I gave it all I had. I had to hang in there. I had to plow. I had to love the people. I had to do everything I could. Now, looking back in retrospect, God had to set up some things in order for that to happen, and I see that now. For one, God is not going, listen, I'm going to talk to a pastor in here. Somebody's pastoring, and maybe God's called you somewhere else. God is not going to allow you to be removed from your position unless somebody else is there to shepherd those sheep, because God loves those people and He cares for them. Now, looking back, I didn't have that at the time. But as time progressed, it was on, and I'm going to fast forward you to Mother's Day. Okay, I believe it. Yes, it was 2012, Mother's Day of 2012. So my timeline's a little off here. I said 2012. It was 2011. 14 months later, we fast forward. It was Mother's Day of about 2000. It may have been 2013, somewhere around there, because all I know it was just 14 months later. I get up on Mother's Day to preach in Milltown. And it was the weirdest feeling. I felt like a stranger in my own house. In fact, I got up and I felt so weird and so out of place that I actually wept. And I shook behind the pulpit and I wept. I got out my message, but I felt really weird. I went home that day, and my wife, even on the drive home, I told my wife what happened. She said, "What was wrong with you?" I said, "I can't explain it. I don't understand, but something shifted. Something's happening. Something's weird." I felt like, imagine going into your own home and you feel weird. You feel out of place. You don't feel there anymore. You feel like a square peg in a round hole. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Yes, the grace for that had lifted. So we prayed, and Melissa said, my wife said, maybe it's time for us to put the house up for sale. Maybe now this is the Kairos, this is the moment, this is the season of the shift to move forward. And I said, I don't know. I said, let's next week, let's go and see what happens. So the following week, on that Sunday morning came, the feeling was even worse. Now watch this, guys. I get up behind the pulpit in Milltown, and I said, and to my church, I said, guys, I feel like the time is now. I feel like the season has come. I said, I can't explain it. I don't understand it. I said, but I feel it in the innermost being of me, that I feel like the winds of change have come. The transition has come. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here, but get ready. And I told the people, I said, be prepared, because God is about to move us out. And I remember I cried, I wept, they cried. We went home that day. Now watch this, guys. We went home, and my wife and I came together, and we were about to put my oldest son, which is Elijah. We didn't have Isaac at the time, but Elijah was there. And we told Elijah, we were going to put Elijah into a Christian academy, a Christian school, because the area we were in, the public schools, they were bad, guys. They were just really bad, and I didn't want to homeschool. And the Lord had blessed us to be able to put him into a Christian school, because I was able to get a discount being a pastor. So we wanted to do that. But watch this. But we had 1 week to make the decision on whether we were to put him in school, and we had to put a deposit down. Some of you guys will understand what I'm talking about. We had to put a deposit down to put him into school. We had 1 week to make this decision. So Melissa My wife, I wish I could, some of you've heard this before. I wish I was the great man of faith to tell you that this was my faith that stretched out here, but it was my wife's. My wife said, she said, grab my hand. I grabbed my wife's hand and she began to pray. And she said, now listen to this. She said, God, if this is you, this is important. She said, if this is the time, this is you, and this is our season to step out. She said, we need an answer and we need it now. She says, we're going to put the house up for sale tomorrow. And we need to sell this house in 1 week. And we need full asking price with no realtor. Now you say, why no realtor? Because if we would have used a realtor, guys, we wouldn't have had the down payment in order to be able to move. So God knew we needed the money. He knew how we was going to do it. And so this is what. So 1 week, sell a house, guys. Think about that. Sell a house. 1 week, no realtor, full asking price. Okay? So I was like, okay, praise God, Matthew 18:19. If any two shall agree and touch it any one thing, it shall be done. So that was on a, what was that, Sunday night? Yeah, and we put the house up for sale on a Monday. Okay? So Tuesday goes by, Wednesday goes by, Thursday night. We had Thursday night services in Milltown. Okay? 3 days later. Okay, do the math. 3 days later. Thursday night, I travel, again, 45 minutes, an hour away. I'm up there Thursday night. I'm excited. I have in fact, I remember the message I preached on that night. And it was about believing God for the impossible because I was walking it out. So I was building people's faith. Little did I know I was building my own faith that night. So here I am preaching. And I'm up there and my phone is blowing up. I had it on silent, but I saw it was Melissa blowing up my phone. And I'm sitting here getting nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, something's happened to what's happened? Something's happened. But I see that she keeps calling, keeps texting, keeps texting. So I'm freaking out. Finally give the altar call, pray for everybody. And I immediately go over and I grab my phone. Again, Thursday night, 3 days after we put our house up for sale. I grab my phone. I check the voicemail. She says, quick, call me back. I've got something I'm going to tell you. So I call her back. She says, listen, what happened? She said, the first guy that came in, because we used an agent, not a realtor, because we sold by owner. She said that an agent brought a guy who come into our house. He walked into our house. He took 15 steps into the house, turned around, looked around. He did a quick, brief turnaround in the house. And he told the realtor, this is my house. He said, I can't explain it, but this is the house I'm supposed to buy. Come on, guys. Are you listening to what I'm saying? 3 days. 3 days after we put it up for sale by owner. Okay. And I'm like, what? So he makes an offer. So Melissa tells me what the offer is, and it was $3,000 short of full asking price. And I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, this is it. Accept it. Praise God. This is it. We're out of here. We're going to move. This is it. This is God. And look, watch this, guys. Listen, this is funny, but it's not. She immediately stops and says, no, that's not what we asked God for. And I'm like, woman, are you crazy? We could lose this sale of this house over $3,000. She said, no, we said, if this is God, then this is what we needed. And I'm like, and I'm telling you guys, I wanted to say no, and I'm like, all right. So I had to, I was like, all right. So she counter offered the $3,000, which would be, watch this, full asking price, no realtor, and it was in 3 days, which is less than a week. The guy accepted the offer, guys. So here we are. We sold the house 3 days, which was less than a week, full asking price, no realtor. Guys, I'm telling you, my own father-in-law, who's an accountant for the military, he's an accountant for the military. And he said, oh, you'll never sell it by owner. Oh, you'll never sell it full asking price. And you're nuts. You're crazy if you think you're going to sell it in a week. And I said, but God. So here we are. We sold our house. And once we sold the house, we were like, oh man, wow. Then reality kicked in. We just sold our house. We're going to move. Wow, this is really happening. Guys, listen to me. We gave up a beautiful home. My wife gave up a great job in a hospital. I gave up a pastoral position. Now, listen. So all of us, and then there was some other things that had to fall in place, because I was like, okay, now who's going to fill my shoes as the pastor? Because I knew it was in order for a shepherd to come into the house after my departure, after me leaving. Well, I had two members of my church come to me, and they said, we had a dream that this individual would be the pastor of the house, and he was the one who pastored it before me. And I said, well, maybe it's the Lord's will for him to come back. So I prayed about it, and I contacted him, and I said, how would you feel about taking this church back? And listen to me, guys. He said that the Lord spoke to him and told him that he would be pastoring again, and that he was to wait for me to leave because God was moving me out, and that he would come back in. Come on, are you listening to me? So everything was falling into place. So he took back over the church. We set out on a journey. Now watch this. Watch God move. So a woman contacts me whom I've never met before in my life. All this crazy stuff happening. And she said that the Lord, and I'm going to shorten this, guys, because I could be on here literally for 2 hours giving you all the details, and I don't want to do that because I want to get to the point of where I'm going. But this woman contacts me, and she says, listen, I got a rental house. She says, this is a house that I've never used to rent out, but I feel like the Lord spoke to me that I'm supposed to use this as a transitional house, a house of transition for people that are moving here to go to OCI, because this is where I felt the Lord had me go for a season, was Omega Center International with Perry Stone, and at the time it was Mark Casto. So again, I'm like, wow. And so she told me the amount, and it was crazy. So we got connected with her. We moved into this house. We rented it, and we rented it for 30 days as a transition house. And eventually we found our own house. So we were able to stay there, and we moved into the house where we're at now. What about the Bible? What about the Bible? I just told you Jesus was the center of the entire foundation of this entire experience. See, this messes up people that don't believe in visions and dreams, and that God speaks to people today. So this is messing up some theology tonight, but that's all right, because this is going to break you out of your little theological box that you put God in, because God did not go out in the 4th century. The Spirit of God did not dissipate in the 4th century. God still speaks through dreams and visions and through prophets and through apostles. So preach on, I'm going to. Whether you like it or not, it did happen. God did do it, and I'm a living testament of what God is, and He's still speaking today. Come on, somebody. So listen to me. So we moved here. We've been here for 3 years now, and I thank God for the 3 years. 42 months, whatever you want to call it, that I've been here. I've met some wonderful people. God has equipped me with people, or He's put me under some great leadership. God has blessed me to become acquainted with and connected with not only Jason, but I got connected with Mark Casto. For a while, I run with Circuit Riders, which that's what Mark's endeavoring in with them guys, with Matt Petrie and Jimmy Lovejoy. Great men of God. Love what they're doing up there with Damon Thompson and them in South Carolina. But over time, we felt in our heart that God had us all going in different directions. Okay? Eventually, many of you guys know by now that Mark eventually felt that the Lord was moving him on from OCI. And at the time, OCI, or Omega Center International, was Mark Casto was the former pastor of OCI, or Omega Center International. But the Lord spoke to him that he was to move on and endeavor and go into other endeavors. So that left, me with a lot of, I had to pray about some stuff. And at the time, OCI was what they called a revival hub. But eventually they transitioned into, now they're a church. They call themselves a church. But I knew that I felt like the Lord was calling me out. I got connected. In fact, Jason and I both got connected with Ryan Lestrange, Apostle Ryan Lestrange. We got connected with him. And we just really felt connected with him. And as time progressed, guys, and I'm cutting a lot of this out for sake of time. The Lord just really knitted our hearts together. And many of you guys know who the New Breed revivalists are. You know, JoJo Dawson, Jennifer LeClaire. She's a senior editor of Charisma Magazine. Has wrote many books, profound speaker. And then again, Apostle Ryan Lestrange. And there's many other individuals I could name here. Jason Armstrong, Kevin Siegel of The Well, and Bobby Brown, who's over in Columbia, Kentucky. So there's a huge network of people that God is pulling together. We all have one mind, one accord, and one purpose, and it's to see revival burn in the land. So I prayed about this, and the Lord gave me peace about it. We connected together. We've been aligned together. We've been running together. Ryan Johnson is another one. And so I saw the Lord building this network of believers together, and I call them my brothers and sisters in the Lord. God's been doing great things. Okay, so I knew, and my wife and I has been saying for a while, for the last 24 months, the last 2 years, that we felt like that we were not always going to remain in Cleveland, Tennessee. We knew that. We felt that for a long time. Our heart, my heart, her heart has always been in the Kentucky region and the Bluegrass State. Kentucky, even in the Jeffersonville, Clarksville area. That's if some of you guys will know who William Branham is. That's his roots are over in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And then, but the whole Bluegrass State, Kentucky, okay, that individual can go find their Bible now so we can keep on talking. All right, so my heart's been burning in that region for a while, and I just didn't know how, I just been waiting on the timing of the Lord. Well, and I've been hearing about God is burning in Kentucky. There's a fire burning in Kentucky. God's moving in Kentucky. God's Spirit's moving in Kentucky, and my heart's been leaping for joy. And probably about a month ago, I got a contact from a man by the name of Bobby Brown, who's out of the Cornfield Revival. And he contacted me and he says, listen, he said, man, and I met him once before over here in Cleveland, Tennessee at Apostle Tina Baker's church. He came out here when Ryan Lestrange came and spoke for a couple of days. We met then, and man, we just connected, and I told him, man, I need to get down there in Columbia, Kentucky, where you're at, and get down there and see what God's doing. And it just didn't work out. I mean, the timing never worked out or whatnot. But he contacted me out of nowhere, out of the blue one day. He just contacted me. And he says, man, look, and we just talked on the phone. He says, you need to get down here in Kentucky. He goes, I know your roots are in Kentucky because he knows Jason, he knows Kevin, and them guys have been out there just, ministering to the Lord. God's been really using them to stoke the fires that are already burning in Kentucky. So he contacts me. We talk, man, there was a connection. God was moving, in the midst of our conversation. We shared, some things that was on our heart. Hold on, guys. Just bear with me for a second. So he said, look, let me get you down here. So I said, yeah, man, I'd love to come down there and see what God's doing. So we traveled down there. And I traveled down there with Jason and Kevin, and we ministered. And I'm telling you, God showed up. And my heart just about exploded from joy and just the expectancy in the atmosphere. I could feel revival in the air. I could feel what God was doing. And my heart just leaped, and it knitted together with Bobby. So we had a powerful time in the Holy Ghost. God was moving. And we just really connected. And I left, and Bobby contacted me, and he says, man, and I don't want to go into details about this too much, but he says, I really believe that God has a work for you in Kentucky. And I said, well, this is, my roots are in Kentucky. This is my home state. I lived there for 23 years. That's where I was born and raised. And I would love, I have a heart for Kentucky, but, right now I'm in Cleveland, Tennessee. I didn't know how that was going, if that was the Lord's will or not. So we prayed about it. And I went back down there, for a second time, and God was just really working. And so we've been praying about this. And here's the point. This is where I'm at, guys. And I feel like we're in the next transition of ministry for End Time Headlines and for myself. And that is, Bobby has come to me privately and he's asked me, and I've told him tonight that I was going to share this publicly because I want you guys to be in agreement with me in prayer. But he wants me to pray about moving down to Kentucky, to be down there with him, to lock arms with him, and to help him stoke the fires of revival, and to burn in Kentucky in that region. And guys, I wish I could tell you that was not in my heart, because I would be lying, because it is in my heart, and that is a passion, that is a desire for me. I have family in Kentucky. Again, my roots are in Kentucky, and again, it's hard to explain unless you've been there. I can only tell you what God's doing there, but unless you're there, unless you're in that region, it's only something. I've always said it's something. It has to be caught and not taught. Here's the thing, guys. So I'm praying towards that. It looks like God is moving in that direction. And this is where we've set our sails to. It's funny because ETH will continue to run. Albert just asked if ETH... Listen, End Time Headlines is my baby. It's not going anywhere. It was birthed through prayer and intercession. End Time Headlines is mobile. It goes wherever I go. So End Time Headlines will be functioning. It will be operating. If anything, it will be the instrument that is going to be the eye and the ears behind what's going on in Kentucky. Amen. So End Time Headlines will be joining arms and locking arms with Bobby Brown and with the Cornfield Revival and what's going on in Kentucky. So nothing's going to be going on with End Time Headlines, guys. Nothing at all. Yes, this could be. I believe this will be the location. And I could go so much deeper in that, guys. Some personal things that I don't feel led to share, but they are private things that I guard. Mary said that she pondered these things in her heart, so she kept them private until they were manifest. So I'm only releasing some things that I feel led to say. But here's the bottom line, guys. The next 3 months are crucial because my wife and I feel like this is going to be a quick thing. Again, this has been going on for a while, and we set our sights on other locations. We were looking to move in Georgia. We were looking to move in Virginia. We were looking to move different locations. And God, we tried to see if that was to fill it out, but it wasn't. We just didn't feel any peace about it. But then all this is moving. It's transitioning quickly. So I need you guys. This is what I need you to do. I need you to pray with me. Pray for me. Be in agreement with me. Just like when we transitioned from Indiana to Cleveland, we now feel like there's a transition, a kairos, a shift going on that God is taking us. And again, I was going to say this a while ago, but I wrote an article a while back that are you settled? Are you settled for a good thing? Are you selling for a God thing? See, I could settle here in Cleveland, Tennessee. I could settle here. I could be rooted here, and I could be okay. Everything's going to be all right. It's great. We could be happy. We could be comfortable. But I want to sail for a God thing. And what am I talking about? I really believe with all my heart what this thing is that I'm about to embark into is bigger than me, and I believe it's going to impact my children. Because here it is, guys, this is where I'm at. Whatever I do for God, it's got to include my family. Listen to me, you preachers and you pastors and you teachers, all you people that are in ministry. If you are in ministry and it leaves your family out, then it's not of God. Come on, somebody. But I want my kids. I prayed in the closet in my prayer time and I said, God, I want to be where the winds of God are blowing. I want to be where the fires of revival are burning and they're stoking. And if it's in Kentucky, so be it. If it's in Colorado, it's in Colorado. If it's in Australia, it's in Australia. That wherever I go, I just want to know that there's a fire burning, and wherever your sails send me, that's where I want to go. Because I refuse, listen to me guys, I refuse to allow my kids to raise up, to be raised in in this cultural systematic religious system that's going to kill them, snuff out their fire. They'll have a form of godliness, but they'll have no power, and they will be backslid before they're ever 18 years of age. No, I want my kids to be in the middle of a fire where they're seeing blind eyes open, the dead raised, demons cast out. Come on, and the Holy Ghost moving, and it's normal. That's normal. That's what I'm believing God for. That's what I'm contending for. And I believe guys, that that's where the Lord is moving, transitioning. Guys, I'm telling you, the system as we know it is toppling. God is moving in team ministry. He's establishing revival hubs, and I know there's other terminology out there, guys, but the point is he's moving in teams, he's moving in networks, he's moving in these locations where it's not about programs, it's not about the system, it's not about platforms, it's not about a personality, but it's about locking arms. Peter tried to pull in a catch that was so big that the Bible says he beckoned for partners. Guys, it's partner ministry time. It's the season, the kairos of partner ministry that has no other agenda but to see God's kingdom come and his will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and to see revival in the land. Listen, yes, I'm a watchman. Yes, I preach end times, but you better believe that I'm still believing for a third great awakening. And you can say, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in revival. Listen, you can keep it, my friend, because you won't get it. But I have the faith. I've seen it. I've tasted it, and I've walked in it. And I know that it exists. And I'm telling you guys, I'm excited. Is it going to be a challenge? Yes. Is it going to be trying? Yes. But guys, if he did it before, if he did it for me before, he's going to do it again. And I'm telling you guys, I am excited for what God's doing. In fact, I'm going to be up there on this. I talked about Ryan Johnson a while ago. He's one of the guys in our network. He's going to be in Columbia, Kentucky this weekend, Thursday. I believe it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you're anywhere near Columbia, Kentucky, go out there and see what God's doing. And I'll be out there again on the 16th and 17th, Friday night. Saturday night and Sunday morning myself. So I'm excited. This is where we're going. I appreciate you guys, your prayers, your intercession, and your petitions that will be made on my behalf. Here's what I want you to pray, God. Pray, guys, that God's will would be fully accomplished. It would be His timing, His purpose, favor. Doors to open quickly, transitions to operate smoothly, financial, everything to line up. And God knows, here's the thing, seek ye first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto thee. So again, guys, I'm excited. And I know you guys will be excited, because again, you guys are going to get a front row seat to what God's doing in Kentucky. And I'm excited about that. Again, guys, I thank God for what he did for me in Cleveland, Tennessee. I can never take away from that. I thank God that he allowed me to be into some of the positions that he allowed me to be in and meet the people I met. I was able to have heart-to-heart conversations with one of my greatest mentors ever in 16 years. One of my greatest mentors, Perry Stone. I was able to have conversations with him that I know most people will never be able to get to, and I thank God every day for that. I thank him for the wisdom that he poured into me, and just the things that he taught me over 16 years, and then personally here for the last 3 years. And all the kingdom connections, guys. But again, those were for a season. But now I'm ready to embark into this next season of my life, of my ministry, and what God has in store for me. So again, guys, we love you guys. Thank you for joining me again. EndTimeHeadlines.org, EndTimeHeadlines.com. You can follow me there. Again, I'm the pastor, the founder, and the voice Ricky Scaparo, if this is the first time you're joining me, I know this is crazy, but this was just something I had to get out to all of our long-term followers that's been following. Some of you guys have been there from day one. From day one. It blows me away sometimes. I get on here and I'm like, man, I remember this guy. I remember this woman from the day one of End Time Headlines when we had like 30 people following End Time Headlines. When before I was ever even pastoring in Milltown, Indiana. So it blows my mind that you guys were there in the small beginnings, and God, through God's grace, His blessings, you are now seeing what God is doing in 2016 with End Time Headlines. Thank you, Kevin. Love you too, man. God bless you guys. Thank you. I'm going to let you go now. I've been on here for almost an hour. I didn't mean to go in that long, but I wanted to build take you on that journey and let you know where I've been, where I'm going, and where I'm about to embark into. So God bless you guys. Love you. We'll see you soon.